Got cut a little early. Went to an acting class, take another acting class. That's a lot of fun, being in the theater and doing that sort of bit. Wanted to address a comment on the video that we were doing earlier today. That's really what got me inspired to come out here, because literally this comment came out like 10 minutes ago, right? And it really inspired me to think, okay, this is exactly why it is that I share the information that I do. Because when you have like an idea like the comment has here, and then you think about some of the things that we have shared here on this channel, all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense. And then you don't ask these questions anymore. So let me go and address the comment here. It goes down like this, and I really want to thank the gentleman who left the comment. They say, they say is the name. They say H. Okay. Goes down like this. It says, "We need you to be elected into government. Thanks, but no thanks. And I'm not sure if I would do well in government, but I appreciate the idea. I'm having a hard time understanding why minimum wage exists for companies who profit like crazy. I understand small businesses need a break, but why have so many government programs but poor wages?" And now I think about this. It's like, so the idea behind it, I guess, is like, why is it that the government always seems to stimulate or back up or bail out or try to prevent the failure of corporations, but yet the small time individual person just really doesn't seem to get anything out of what it is that the government is providing, as far as like, hey, how come you don't give them a living wage kind of idea, like forcing that upon the corporations, making them pay this living wage, right? So many poor wages out there. And so when I think about these two things, right, bailing out the corporations and then the people not earning enough money, and this is very common idea what takes place within the working class individual, the blue collar, the white collar, the working hands, shuffling the paperwork, servicing the things that are out there. This is what the average everyday person is doing in order to try and survive. And they're finding it ever increasingly more difficult as we go down the road. So, again, when I think about what it is that I could possibly do as an elected official, I can't do anything because of the economy. We have to understand what it is that's taken place. Ever increasing amounts of new money that has poured into the system has separated the rich from the poor in a dramatic fashion, that there's two economies now taking place. I can't fix that. I can't make it better for you. I mean, I can understand what's happening. I can explain it. I can talk about what it is that you may need to do in order to survive this, but there's nothing I can do to fix it. I can't make it better for the working class individual. I can't say, hey, pay these guys such a better wage that they can go out there and participate in the economy, much like they had remembered their grandparents or maybe even their parents doing. Because to tell somebody to go and pay these people that way is essentially telling them to shut down operations, because there's going to be somebody out there in the world who's going to be doing it cheaper and easier than what this corporation is going to be doing by paying that living wage. I know that's difficult for a lot of people to understand, but if you read through the Cantillon essay, this is exactly how he described it. That the people who are most industrious, right here, American people, most industrious in the world, we produced the world's greatest stuff, and we sent that stuff out there to the world, and the world sent us their money, their gold. We raised our standard of living, and by raising our standard of living, we made it uncompetitive. Our wages are no longer competitive against somebody who doesn't have a high standard of living. There's nothing we can do to fix that. That's not a fixable thing. Right? And so to understand how it's going down, why it's going down, and then to also understand that if they print new money, if they're going to expand, ever increasing expansion of money and debt, then there's going to be ever increasing expansion of inequality. There's no way around it. There's like literally no other way of going about it. You can try and make rules, right? They might even work for a little bit. You might try to set up situations that might work for a little bit. But if you look through history, if you look through time, there has never been any other result from the new money other than inequality. That will be the result every single time. No elected official can do it. You can put me in office and I will say, hey, here's your problems. And nobody will vote for me again because I would do things that would then cause pain and suffering to the people because they told me, hey, fix it. And fixing it is going to be pain and misery to the people. Not because I want pain and misery to the people, it's because that's what it would take in order to fix it. Don't put me in office. That's not a good idea. Right? Because most people are going to then pain and or suffer with that pain and misery and then question why it is that I am doing it. And I would have to say it's because I was told to fix it. And that's sad to say. I mean, I don't want to say it like that. I don't want to be like, hey, man, I can't tell you how to, solve the world's problems, man. I wish I could. I wish I could be that person who could tell you that. But anybody who's telling you that is literally feeding you a line. I mean, if you want to go and, listen to those people, I mean, it's a great day. I mean, it makes you feel really good, but then you have to deal with the reality of the situation, and that means you have choices to make for yourself because you can't make choices for other people. And you can't make other people vote for the right person and do the right thing and behave the right way. None of that can happen. But you can recognize how, generally human behavior is and what it is that you can do in order to conduct yourself in a way that gives you the most and best possibilities for the future. And by recognizing underlying economic forces, you can recognize that wages will never, ever, 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 ever come back to a living wage again because we don't produce the stuff that the world buys. If we did, totally different story, right? So now I don't know what it is that other elected officials are going to do. And I have no idea what it is that the average everyday individual with their wages is going to do if that's all they intend on using, because there's no hope. I'm sorry. The opportunities are abound everywhere. Everywhere I look, there's nothing but opportunities and possibilities, and money flies constantly everywhere I go. And so to think that there's no way that an individual can go out there and take advantage of the situation we now face, I have to look out there and think to myself, well, there is plenty of people right now doing it from scratch. Don't be one. I don't know. It's not up to me to tell you what to do, right? But I see people out there who are doing it right now from scratch, starting from zero. And to think that that's not possible, well, continue to believe it. I mean, I don't know. You're the competition. So, if you don't want to compete, that's fine. Because there's other people out there who are going to do it. And if you complain about them doing it, then you're going to know what side of it is that you're on. Right? That's really what it comes down to. Looks like Sarah's back. All right, let's read through some of these comments here. I wanted to bring that up because I thought that was really interesting. I mean, and I really appreciate it. I think the idea behind the comment was a really good one. Hey, we need you in government to start, dealing with some of these issues. And I'm like, I don't know if you really want me to. Right? Because dealing with the issues is going to be it's going to be painful. Like it's either deal with the pain now or later. And so, it's just like I got kids, so I'm willing to take the pain now instead of forcing the pain upon them later, because that's essentially what's going to end up happening going into the future. All right, speak up, please. I'm running a planer here. I'm sorry, man. I don't know if I can speak up. Everything should just keep everything should just keep complaining. It'll make it easier for people who want to grow. Yeah, and and that's kind of something that I thought about. You in the house, thank you, Larry. That's also something that I thought about. It was just like every single time I hear somebody complaining about things, it's just like I shouldn't change their mind. and be like, hey man, let them complain, let them do it, let them be part of the deterioration to society and everything else that's going on out there, because that's essentially your competition. And what do you want to do? You don't want, do you want less competition, or do you want like more competition? Because if they're like not competing and they're complaining, then let them complain. It's just like, don't go out there and do it. I don't know, but that's not, I don't know how it is that people, I don't know at what point, other than complete, utter rioting in the streets, has there ever been any kind of change to people complaining about anything? Uh, and that's what's funny about it, is that you don't have to complain about anything. You can just change the way that you're conducting yourself. If you start doing and behaving and acting in ways that makes government irrelevant, don't tell me they wouldn't notice. Right? If all of a sudden they're like, hey, pay attention to me, we're doing it, and they're like, no, you're not that important. They're like, no, we're real important. It was like, no, you're not. And when I'm conducting myself in a way that then makes you not important, right? You want those fiat dollars? Here, keep them. We're getting into gold and silver and Bitcoin. It was like, you can have all those fiat dollars to do nothing with, because nobody here is dealing with them. That's where I'm getting. You see where I'm getting? It's like, if all the people abandoned the dollar themselves, the government would be done. They would be out of the game. They wouldn't know what to do. But the people are too scared, right? They can't do that. They can't just give up their dollars. It was just like, I think to myself, why not? I mean, at some point they're going to fail anyway, so why not just do it? Just get into a mindset in which that you could exist without the dollars, and then just do it. But they can't. It's too overwhelming. All right. While they're writing, others are networking, building hustles, stacking assets. Yeah, and see, that's just the thing I'm thinking about. It was just like, if people are spending their time trying to figure out what it is that they could do to prevent something else from happening, what is it that they are not doing to make something happen for themselves? I mean, don't get me wrong. Hey, great. Like, I mean, good, go for it. Good cause, right? But I have to think, like, with your self-sacrifice to go out there and protest and to, whatever movement or cause or whatever it is you got going on, and then deny yourself the ability to use your time to then better yourself in ways that are going to be far more helpful than protesting is. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, to me, it's kind of like, it's a lazy way out. I don't want to like call it lazy, but that's kind of what it is. It was just like, you go out there and stomp your feet and throw a sign around and say, yeah, I did a lot of work. And I think to myself, that's activism. That, I mean, like, holding up a sign that nobody's going to read, that doesn't persuade anybody. That's activism? Huh. Mm, okay. Like, I mean, if you think so, yeah, I mean, it's your life, your story, right? But to me, that's not activism, right? It's like, just, I mean, to be honest with you, it's a bunch of noise. And although I do appreciate the attempt to bring some attention to the matter, what that is not activism. What I'm doing is activism, right? Like, I come out here and I try to share what it is that I see happening to an audience that I hope would take the information and use it for their best benefit. If they want to believe one way or the other, I can care. Like, that's up to them to care, right? I don't care about that part. My care about the part is that I found information that I think is very relevant. I think it's very helpful. And I think it's very useful. And I think the average everyday person who was to understand the situation that we were facing with monetary policy and what it is that the Federal Reserve was looking for going into the future, considering that it was delivered here to the economy in a way that I think is not a surprise, I believe that the people who had internalized that information have done far better for themselves now than if they didn't have it. Right? How come we only have 68 people? Is this a terrible video or what? Deja vu, thank you so much. A member for 24 months now. That's great. I am so awesome. I believe that is so awesome that you have been a member for so long. And I have not been very up on doing the Fed speeches, but there's not a lot of Fed speeches that have been coming out lately that I feel are really relevant to the information that we're trying to share here on this channel, mainly monetary policy. They've been very hush-hush about it, very quiet. But thank you so much for joining the channel. Thanks to Triffin's Dilemma, the Cantillon effect, fiscal dominance, and Gresham's law, there is no other rational choice than to buy assets as fast as possible in an inflationary environment. And I really agree with that. I mean, I think it's the question on what assets that you should be into, and many people will just be like, silver, what else? You don't need to be in anything else, right? But I question that. Like, I honestly look towards things that are going to have a return now. Like, I like being in the hard assets like silver, gold, physical items, firearms, food. These are the things that are useful, actually useful in life. I mean, silver and gold, maybe not for me in that sense. Like, I'm not an industrial, I don't need it for industrious purposes, but the fact that it is an industrious metal and that it has demand out there beyond that of just its existence, that's pretty cool. Bitcoin, in my opinion, I think like the ability to transact with somebody on the other side of the globe essentially instantaneously without interruption and without government stopping it, that is like way cool, right? So to me, like those are pretty cool items to have, but neither one of them pay a return. So there are some ways of getting a return on your cryptocurrencies. And for example, I have a little bit of Cosmos that I have staked at Coinbase. It has something like a 15% return on it that pays out weekly. That's pretty cool, but it's incredibly volatile and there's no way to really count on it because you never know what the portfolio is going to be when you have something as crazy as that going on. But it does exist out there and I do have a small position in it. I have dividend paying stocks. I have a belief at some point in the future I should be getting into properties and hopefully have some sort of rental income coming in from that. And these are the ideas that I have taken. I'm not just sitting in one asset. Like, to me, that's very dangerous to do. However, all the richest people in the world say if you want to be rich, like really rich, you put everything into one thing. And usually it's like one major investment or one major like business idea or something of that nature. And that's generally how you end up making it very rich. But I don't know about necessarily being very rich. Like, I don't know what being very rich means. Like, to me, being very rich means you have a lot of toys and expenses and maintenance and issues and stuff like that going on. I want to be able to pay my bills at will on time without any question and then do whatever the hell I want. That to me is rich, right? Especially if you have a lot of time, right? Time is money, and there's time is the only thing you cannot get back, right? So if you have all the time in the world and your bills are paid and you can do whatever you want and you're not tied to anything or anyone or any force of like, you have to be here, behave, do this, be a business, call these people, and you don't have any of that stuff going on, you got total freedom. Man, that's the most valuable thing in the world. So how is it that you condition yourself to get there is up to you, right? Like, that's up to you. If you need fancy cars and fancy things in your life to get there, like, so be it, man. Go figure out how it is that you're going to earn all that money. I personally don't need that much stuff. Right. I am really good with just having very simple, plain things and then having my bills paid on time and then having a savings account and having the ability to do whatever the hell I want. That to me is by far the best feeling in the entire world. And I don't think I would ever want to give that up. All right. But some people want to make it more complicated. And I totally get why. Like, I get why they want nicer things, fancier things, bigger things. They want to be impressive and all that other stuff. And I just like at 50 years old, like I'm almost 50, I'm just like, I'm not care about it being impressive anymore. Like, I gave up trying to be impressive about 40 years old, about 10 years ago. And then after I stopped trying to be impressive, all of a sudden, like, the YouTube channel took off and all kinds of stuff started happening. It was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. Then finally the time I gave up and quit, quit caring. And that's the way it works. Like, the moment you really don't give it any importance, that's when it actually happens for you. Exactly. Concentrate in one asset or asset class to get rich. Diversify into multiple assets or asset classes once rich to stay rich. Excuse me. 10K a month and a passive income, very rich wealth. Wow. Holy moly. Man, like, I have a hard time doing that and like everything I do. All right. It's a pleasure to have you here for intrinsic value. You guys are awesome. I love the way you guys talk to each other. Okay. Yeah, you should have been buying gold and silver, not at all-time highs. Look for value that's undervalued. Yeah, and I mean, essentially, like I've been buying into the silver market since 2009 is about when I really started getting into it, I guess. Maybe late 2008 into 2009. And I've been buying ever since. I mean, it's like it, I don't know, like to me, silver ended up being like the savings account. I never really thought about it. Like at first I thought, oh man, this is going to go to $1 billion and I'm going to be super rich. And that's the way I thought about it because like I had the idea of the silver short position coming undone and like JP Morgan crashing and all this other stuff that came with it. And that really and this is the problem when you hype something up like that very big is that if it doesn't play out the way that you had said it was or somebody feels burned because, of the play that you told them to get into, then you end up losing trust for him. Like I listened to a lot of Max Kaiser. Now I didn't necessarily like Max Kaiser, and he was kind of whiny, the way he talked and stuff. But I thought he had pretty decent information, and I thought it was, pretty good to listen to him. But he got me hyped up on that Giabo thing, right? Global insurrection against bank occupation, crash J.P. Morgan, buy silver. This big old silver is at $500 if you dream it kind of thing. And I got really into it. It was a huge pump and dump. It was an obvious pump and dump. Right when it got up to the all-time highs, he was dumping silver out there with his image on it. Hey, buy silver, buy lots of it. Buy into physical, hold the physical, right? And so as we were all buying into it, we all, like me, right? So as I was buying into it and thinking that, oh man, we're going to crash JP Morgan, it ran up to $50 an ounce. I thought, man, this is it. We're in it. It's happening. And then it crashed all the way back down to the teens, and it was during a time in which that it was probably the most devastating. Like I was losing everything. I was really, really drinking a lot. My bad. I admit it. I admitted a long time ago. I'm willing to admit it today. It's still a problem that I deal with. I don't drink, haven't drank in 10 years, but I think about it a lot. And now I know those were an issue back then. And with the other issues that I had going along with it, losing the ability to sell that silver off at $50 an ounce, and it was all the way down to the teens. And if I'd sold it, I would essentially been out of money or been under, not out of money, would have been less than what I had paid for it. I was devastated. I was just like, you know what? This sucks. The whole world sucks and all the other stuff. Everything sucks. Screw everybody. And so I just essentially just turned off my phone, turned off everything, and just stopped paying attention to everything. Like I just took my box of silver, stashed it away, and just hunkered down and just didn't care. Right? Didn't look at the internet, didn't read no news articles, didn't talk to anybody about politics, didn't know about natural disasters that were happening, didn't care. I literally did not care, turned it off for years. You know? People would talk to me about it and I'd be like, what? I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. And it was funny. It was because it was Edward Snowden that actually did it, right? It was Edward Snowden, and he came out and he was just like, "Hey, they're listening to you through your phones," and everybody finally started to admit it. Hey, they're listening to you through your phones, and I'm like, "Yeah, no kidding. I've been trying to tell you that as a conspiracy theorist my whole life, sitting here trying to tell you that they're listening to you through the damn things, but nobody wanted to hear me, so I'm here. I'm gonna protest over it all." And then now there was no reason to protest, right? Everybody knew it. And so I'm like, well, shit, I wish I had a phone, right? Like at that point, I'm like, okay, I guess my protest is over. I'm like, I like there ain't no point into it anymore. I was doing it just to try and get out of the whole thing because, I knew what was coming down there, mass surveillance state and all the other things that were going to come with it. But then I'm thinking, well, damn, now I'm missing out because I don't have the phone, right? So my protest was over. I got the phone, and it wasn't too much later that, I started up the YouTube channel, started firing off like economic videos because I told myself, that's it, man. Don't dive into the rabbit holes of conspiracy theorists no more. They're not going to serve you any purpose. They just do nothing but drag you into the deeper depression and horribleness. So don't even bother, right? Just follow the money. If you follow the money, that's all you need because that's the only thing you can deal with is your own money, right? And because everybody is going to do things differently. Nobody wears the same clothes. They don't eat the same food. They don't talk the same language. They don't do all the same things that everybody else does, but we all use money, right? So the money ties us all together, and that's the one thing that does it all for sure. So when I think about the money and I think about what it is that I could share, I'm thinking, man, I'm pulling myself out of debt. I'm going to pull myself out of debt. I'm going to make something happen. And I'm going to do it right now. And I'm going to document it here on YouTube. And this is the journey. This is what it looks like. You guys get to experience the entire thing. I mean, going from absolutely nothing, broken down vehicles, walking to work, to being on stage with some of the brightest minds in economics. Wow, what a world, man. What a world. So you can't tell me it's not possible, right? It is. It's possible in every way. And it doesn't mean that you have to go get a YouTube channel and start speaking on stage. It means that you have to start realizing that your attitude, your belief system, and what it is that you are doing is going to be the outcome that you are thinking and existing into, right? Same thing with the conspiracy theorists. It's the same thing with studying stocks and real estate and investing and all the other stuff. Moving on. I never thought about money in terms of that vacation today, and memories could be worth more today than 10 years from now. Year 6 of chasing excellence, the compounding is starting to really show. And that's what's funny about it. Like, the compounding, that's what's really, is fascinating about it. I remember there was a time that I thought, man, it was just like, I had paid off my credit card, right? And there's actually a good video here that I put on my channel when I paid off the credit. Like, I literally went to the bank and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take my camera in here. It's going to be pointing like kind of over my shoulder and up towards the ceiling. You guys, none of this will be on it, but is it all right if I come in here and record myself paying off my credit card? And the girl behind the counter was totally cool about it. So it's at the grocery market, or at the time it was, and I paid off my credit card. And I remember the day that I paid it off, I was essentially broke at that point. Like, I didn't have any money, but that's okay because all my bills were paid and I was about ready to get a paycheck and I didn't have anything to pay with that paycheck. And I was about ready to get another Google check, and all that stuff was like, just, I mean, I didn't stress about, I didn't care. I didn't care that I had absolutely no money when I paid off that credit card. It didn't matter to me at that point. And, I just remember it was just like, wow, now I can actually really save. Like, I can actually really save. Like, I've never been able to save before because I was always in debt, right? I always had a debt to pay. So even if you had a savings, it didn't really matter because if you got a debt, then whatever savings you have is just, it might as well just go into the debt because then you still have debt after that, right? So this is the first time that I was out of debt. I didn't have anything to pay. And I had this money coming in. And I had actually, at the time, I had a PayPal account too that the YouTube viewers were tipping me. Like, they tipped me a bunch of money on that PayPal. So actually I had some money in there too. I kind of forgot about that at the time. That was another reason why I wasn't so stressed. And so when I was out of that, I was just like, wow, what a feeling. Like, what a feeling of relief. Like, I didn't care about I didn't care about anything, my boss, nobody. Like, there was like nothing, man, all of a sudden. And it wasn't like an FU, not caring feeling. It was much different from that. It was more like I didn't care, like I didn't stress about it. I didn't have to worry about what it is that they were thinking, feeling, whatever. It was just like I didn't like my mind was at ease. Right? That's more of what it was. It wasn't like I didn't care. It was more that I was at ease. And and I think that's probably what was like the most exciting was knowing that I was going to be able to save some money because I never had been able to do it before, right? And so as I started to save money, I thought to myself, man, it was hard, so hard to get to the $3,000 to pay off the credit card. And then it took me like a month to make $3,000. Like here it was years and years and years of being in debt to this damn card, right? $20,000 at one point, debt, medical debts, all kinds of stuff happening, right? And I'm down to this last $3,000 on this damn credit card, taking years and years and years and years and years to get here. I take these $3,000, pay off the last little bit, and it's done. And then I kid you not, it was like a month later, not even a month later, maybe a little over a month later, I had the $3,000 back. And then it was a few months later after that, I had $10,000. And I thought to myself, wow, I've never really had $10,000. Like I've had it, but not like this. Like this didn't have debt attached to it, didn't have anything, no place to go, whatever, right? It was $10,000. I thought, man, that's incredible. Like I've never, like, so how fast did that happen, right? And then I kid you not, like as things were happening on YouTube and it was blowing up and it was, and things, it was just like every direction it was coming from. And I didn't even know what was going on. Like I really didn't. I'm just saying yes to interviews. Like anytime anybody asked me for an interview, I said yes, whatever. It was just like, and I was able to save up enough to buy a house, to put money down on a house. Right? And I was just like, oh crap. That was all my money. Like all this money that I had saved up, everything. Like, I mean, I kid you not. Like I had paid off that credit card and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. I'm saving this money. And then it's all gone again. Like I'm broke again. Not broke because I got the house, but I literally had like $300 left in my checking account when I went and got the cashier's check for the house, for the down payment for the house. And so here it is. Like, I'm like, oh man, I have never lived with money. Like, I've never had it ever. Like, I have it, I've had it, I get it. But then I never like really had it for me to do like live like I've always saved it and then made like these major jumps with it, paid off the debt, bought the house, these kind of things. Well, it was kind of interesting is that when I put all my assets together and I think about it after I finally got, to a spot, I realized it was just like, okay, this is actually pretty decent. I got the silver assets. I've got like some stocks that I picked up, I'm doing all these things. Like I've started to build up this amount of wealth. Well, when I looked at it, I thought to myself, man, this is like almost like getting like that down payment back. Right? I don't have it in cash anymore. I got it in assets. But I was able to acquire enough assets that it essentially matched what I had put down on the down payment on the house, which took me essentially 10, I don't know how many years, whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to do. I was able to get that back in 4. Not even 4, it was like 2 years. And then over the course of the next 2 years, I doubled that to like almost $100,000 in assets. And I'm thinking, man, the compounding of this and how it's working, like even though I never really seem to have, like, you give to me at any given time, I was like, how much money do you have in the bank? And I was like, not much, I can tell you that, because, it seems like something's always breaking down, the car's always, like, whatever, when I went to the vet, it's like, there's never seems to be that much in the bank itself. But that's not where I'm looking at where my money is. That's not where I saved it. That I didn't put it there, right? I put it into other things. And by putting it into those other things are starting to increase in such a fashion that when it took me forever to get to $10,000, right, or it felt like $10,000, It really wasn't that long, right? But when it felt like it took forever to get there, that same effort to acquire $10,000 in my life, because it was like, 40 something years old for the first time I had 10 grand in my life, that seems really weird, doesn't it? Most people, by the time they're like, they probably had 10 grand more than that, at some point in their life, but maybe they didn't. I don't know. Right. But for me, that seemed like a kind of a late time in life to finally have like 10 grand in my life. And then it wasn't that much longer. It was 100,000. It was just like, wow, this is like this. Once you get to a certain point, right, then it seems to grow so much faster. But it takes forever to get there. Like that initial, it's just like, man, this is slow going, man. It takes forever. I've been saving, nothing happened, nothing's going on. And then one day you look back and you're like, actually, that's not too bad. That's a pretty decent amount. And then you realize, man, this is happening faster than I thought that it could or would. Right? And this is where I think a lot of people start getting maybe like irrational with it. They think it's going to happen forever. And then they start conditioning their life to be accepting of that. Like, they level it up, they raise their standard of living, they start, buying into toys and stuff like that, and then realize, man, they're not prepared for the fallback, like to, kind of fall back to the position that they once held and not be damaged by that. Well, that's kind of how I live my life, right? And I keep it like incredibly low. And then whatever extra I get, I try to put that towards the assets. If there was something that comes up in my life, it doesn't devastate me. It doesn't hurt. Like the car breaking down, right? Doing whatever, like new tires, whatever. Like whatever happens, it happens. Like I don't stress about it because, that's what life. Of course it's going to come and take it from you, right? That's the way they do it. But I don't stress about that thing because I didn't level up so high that if something like that happens, it hurts. Right? Those things happen because I know they're going to happen. And when they do happen, it's just like, yeah, figures, right? Here you go. There's more of the money than, I thought I was going to go do this with. But no, there you go. You can have it, right? Because that's the universe taking it from you. But if you're prepared for it, ready for it, and thinking like, man, if I can keep my expenses low, then that isn't such a devastating event, then, you just kind of roll with the punches. Let's cruise. What was that super chat? Let's go check that thing out. Gunner, thank you so much, man. $4.99. Very cool of you for the tip jar, man. I really appreciate it. You guys are cool for supporting the uneducated economist like you do. A lot of times the YouTube algorithm doesn't really like the UE style or whatever it is that I'm delivering out there. But I know that a lot of people who have followed the channel for as long as they have come to me, sent me emails, and told me about the appreciation that they have for the channel and everything that we've done here, especially the conversations that they have with the other viewers here who really help them to identify what it is that they are seeing within the economy and how it is that they can conduct themselves within it. This is what we do here. $2,000 a month isn't much when your house is worth $1 million. Yeah. I am paying $2,000 for a mortgage, but I'm getting $4,000 in rental income. Yeah, it's a pretty good rule of thumb. What is that? How it works? 6 months used to be what they taught in school when I was young. All right. Hell on earth, separation from the mycology. All right. Flexi Reich. I would frame it as 6 months of expenses of your earnings. Yeah. Simon, what did you do with your credit card after you paid them off? What do you mean? Oh, well, no, I kept my credit cards because essentially I had really bad credit at the time. And so I actually got other credit cards and started using those credit cards. So what I would do is I would make like $100 purchase and then pay like 95 of it off and then just keep like the $5 balance on them. And I did that with several different cards. And so I did that for a while. Like I would just put like maybe pay a bill with it or buy some gas with it or do something with like a normal purchase and then pay almost all of it off. and make payments on them for like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 months a piece, something like that. And then after that point, then I would pay them off. And I did that with several credit cards. So I took out even, like, as soon as I paid it off, I actually started taking out even more credit cards. I know, right? I know it seems kind of funny, but I had really, really, really bad credit at the time. So paying that off and then having a decent bank account and stuff, I started getting like more offers for credit cards. So I started taking out credit cards and started using them and paying most of it off, not all of it, making payments regularly for months. I have been able to take my credit score from like, I don't know, I think it was down around 580, 570, 560. I don't know. It was really low, right? It was something terrible. And last time I checked it, it was at 841. Right? And so just because I wanted to, essentially I was going to try and get into a house or whatever, I wanted to beef up my credit score, and boy, howdy did I, right? So now I got this credit score of 841 and I have like, I don't know, $100,000 of available credit to me. That's pretty good position to be in. Right? Now I do have like, I put Max braces. My oldest son, he had some braces. I put that on a credit card because I didn't want to give up the cash at the time. And then as I was paying that off, all the stuff started to happen in life when you put something on a credit card like that, where you have an intent on paying it off very quickly. Don't do that, right? Just pay it off. Just pay it off and then deal with life as it comes, because if you do that, you're going to get the same story every time. And I've learned this. I knew it from the past. And I shouldn't have done it, but I did anyway, is that I put Max braces on the credit card with the intent that I was going to pay them off very quickly. I just didn't want to give up the cash. What happened next, right? Very next thing, something comes up. Boom, there was a medical thing that came up. Right after that, boom, Sarah's tires needed to be replaced. Boom, next thing you know, her car broke down. Another three, boom, 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 right? All this stuff starts to happen, and now you can't pay off the card. Right? And this is like, or I guess you could. I mean, I could have, but I chose not to because I had all these other things that started lining up that prevented it from happening, or essentially prevented my plan from working out the way I had intended. That is exactly how the universe does it. There is I don't know why I thought it would have been any differently. That is definitely how it goes down. Everybody tells the exact same story. There is no reason to believe that it was going to go any other way. But yet, for some reason, I thought magically experienced that I could do it. And then I put his braces on that damn credit card, only to have life circumstances come up and prevent me from paying off the credit card. Okay. So it didn't really prevent me, deny me from following my plan. So that is not something that I would have typically have done. All right. I'm going to have that credit card paid off here very soon. I've said it so many times, but so many other things came up along the way, but now it's serious about it. That I will be like, essentially the only debt I have is the mortgage debt. All right. Like, I could pay the credit card off now. I just choose not to because of, I'm dumb like that, I guess. I don't know. I want to keep the money. I'm greedy like that because I want to keep the money. And it's not that much. That's what kind of drives me nuts about it. It's just like, okay, I'll do it next month. And then the next month rolls around, something else comes up, and I'm like, man, that is such as life, It's just the way it goes. Come on, this battery sucks. It has too short of a cable with it, and it doesn't want to stand upright. Can I sit right there? Oh yeah, you can sit right there. Cool, perfect. All right, but what he said is true in all caps. Take the money out of the banks. Hope you have your stuff in family trust. Never take out credit cards in personal names. The emergency fund is the buffer protecting your assets from liquidation. That's exactly right. All right. I view my mortgage as an asset in a way. I'll pay off the house with $20-$40. I have better use for my $26. I agree very much with that. Like, I have 3 1/8% interest on the house, If I paid off the house early, which is fine, I mean, that's a really good deal, but it's the 3.25%. Like, might as well wait into the future and pay it off when you have much easier access to a lot more dollars when they are, excuse me, when they're expanding the currencies further into the future. So might as well pay it off out there, right? And by that time, you won't even think about it. If it was a higher interest rate, I would think differently about it. But something else I kind of think about is that every payment that I do make on my house because of the low interest is really like putting money into that asset, just like you're saying, something like a savings account. So like every single house payment I make is like saving $1,000, right? It's putting $1,000 into the asset. Of course, another $1,500, well, not quite that much, but pretty close to it, is going to, insurance and escrow and whatever, the interest payment on the house. And that, when you think about it, really isn't that bad. It's like, when you think about it, $1,500 a month that cost to live there, and then you get to save $1,000 of it because essentially that's an equity in the house. So, that's really not a bad deal. That works out pretty well when you look at it like that. All right. That's a fair way to look at it. Gold next. But they bought the house in 2008. I had the same rate. Mine is 5.25. I mean, 5.25 is higher than 3.125. But, really, even 5.25 isn't like terrible considering what houses used to be at. Like, they used to be very expensive. So 5.25, on something like that, it would probably make more sense to try and pay that off earlier, because really trying to get an investment that's beyond that 5.5% is going to be a lot more difficult. Like getting something beyond 3.125 is going to be a lot easier than going off of 5.5. Because, like, even if you were to get a 10% return, you're really only talking about a 4.5% return after you take your debt, your interest that you're paying on your debt. If you have a 3.125% interest, well, you're getting almost 7% yield off of that 10,000 or that 10%, interest rate. So it does make a lot more sense if you have a 5.5% to just pay the debt off early. But then, a lot of people get like, oh, bummer, that sucks. But don't really look at it like that. If you are paying on debt, that's the greatest investment that you could ever possibly make. So paying on debt is like easy. You don't have to even think about it. You just pay the debt. You don't have to think about stocks or bonds or where this is going to go or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? Because it's going to be harder to try and get a return on an investment that's going to be beyond the 5.5% than to just pay the damn debt. So I mean, it was just like if you have a high interest debt like that, I mean, that's not even that high interest, but if it's an elevated interest debt, especially on something like a house, just dump all your money into that. Why not? It's all going into the asset anyway, especially if you can put a lot towards the principal. It just makes it that much easier. Yeah. You're dreaming. What did Deja say that she's dreaming? Try to get a loan at 3.2 now. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's joking. She's being sarcastic there. Interesting. I'm not good on sarcasm. You notice, like I am not good at picking up on sarcasm in the comment section, even though I'm a pretty sarcastic person and like joking around with my buddies and stuff, but I'm not. I take things way literally. All right. Storing wealth in liquid assets is better. There's not many people who are liquid millionaires. The home equity is imaginary until you can actually sell the home and have true price discovery. Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily true, because a lot of times people will say it's worthless until you sell it. And that's not true, because the equity in the house then gives you the ability to get loans. Right? And with that ability to get loans, you can get what? Cash flowing assets. And so to think about the equity in the house, not about something that you're going to go and get to sell, but the amount of money that you can go out there and access, right? Because that's important. Like for the saver, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we're the saver. Like when I'm in the saving mindset, I don't think about accessing money for like going out there and like borrow here so I could go and buy that cash flowing asset over there, then use that to, like my mind doesn't spin like that. But the closer I get to the capabilities of doing it, the more I think that way. Right? And that's really what it comes down to is like I don't look at the asset or I don't look at it as being something that I have to sell to get to the value of it. I can borrow against it, right? And then use that to go get some more value in something else. Um, all right. Wayne says, I've been slacking. Well, not really. Been busy. Yeah, I figured you've been busy. Uh, Michigan wanted to tax based on all assets and property, almost screwed a lot of farms. Don't be sarcastic with me, please. Yeah. I mean, you can be sarcastic with me, but just don't expect me to get it because I'm not very good at it. I'm just kidding. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. All right. You guys having fun? We're into this for 51 minutes. I just wanted to kind of go over that idea from that commenter. I thought it was a really good comment. We need you to be elected into government. I'm having a hard time understanding why the minimum wage exists for companies who profit like crazy. I understand small businesses need a break, but why have so many government programs but poor wages? And again, you know, reading through this, chapter 6, 7, and 8, part 2 of the essay, The Increase and Decrease of Money to the State, explains it all. And essentially, we're in a position in our economy now where the average everyday person is really no longer competitive on the global scale for a manufacturing job that is going to have a standard of living that is going to be somewhat comparable to what it was that we were using or achieving back in the day here in this country when we were a manufacturing powerhouse. So it just simply just doesn't exist like that anymore. Understanding that and understanding why and the underlying economic forces that relate to that, it makes a lot more sense. If you want to blame things and you want to push the blame and you want to focus in on blame or point the finger at something, there's plenty to do that with. Like it's all over the place. But the reality of the situation is that it's explained very well from hundreds of years ago, and so to reinvent the wheel doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We're just in a bad spot in our economy for the average working class individual. But that's okay because we talk about it a lot here on this channel, and by understanding that, you can then figure out what it is that you need to do, which is ultimately cut back on those expenses, right? 97 Suburban. Yeah, then you go and you put that money towards cash flowing assets or something that is going to increase in value somewhat. Like even if it's a speculative assets, silver, gold, Bitcoin, firearms, whatever it is that, that you're into. But looking for things that actually have a yield, right? Rental properties, dividend paying stocks, businesses, leveling up your skills. These are the things that are really going to benefit you going into the future. The idea of getting a good job and then using that good job to get you the things that you need in your life. Some places, somewhere, somehow, maybe in the country, that's possible. But the majority of the people aren't going to be able to get that sort of experience out of this anymore because it's just not the way it is. It's the economy has evolved. It's moved onward. All right. Hey, if 30-year home mortgages interest are front-loaded mainly to the first 10 years, does that not make your rate a lot higher, almost 3 times? If it's front-loaded mortgage interest rates are front-loaded mainly to the first 10 years, then your rate a lot higher, like almost 3 times. Well, I think it's because you pay the interest, like you're essentially paying the interest off on the debt first. But like when I look at my debt payment on my mortgage, right? And like the first one, I can't remember what it was, like going towards principal. It wasn't very much. But when I had this low interest rate, like every single month, that principal payment jumps up significantly. And it's not like, I remember when I bought a house back, or I tried to buy a house a long time ago. It was 165,000, had like 6.25% interest on it or something, or even higher. I think it was even higher than that, 6.75 or something. And I just remember like thinking, oh my God, like there is almost nothing. Like every single principal payment was this tiny little payment and it never really increased, right? But now the payment is quite significant. It's like, over $800 right now going towards principal on every payment. And then like every month it jumps up significantly. Like I actually noticed the number is actually quite a bit. Um, so I would agree, and yes, that you're going to end up paying the interest on the beginning. So it's better to pay that off first and get that knocked out, like make as much principal payments and everything that you can as quickly as possible, so that you have less interest to pay on the entire loan of it. I agree with that part of it. But ultimately, when you're making $800 payments that are increasing every single month, like that's a good position to be in. And a low interest rate is the only thing that really does that for you, that gives you that kind of like, capabilities. So $10 from what is that? Mellow. Oh God, I love that. Meletic thought, meletic, meletic thought. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. $10. Thank you so much. Use this to help a bit with your kids' braces. Haha. I know it won't touch it. Just trying to help a little bit. Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm just actually glad that I'm in a position in which that I can do that. I mean, it was like, I think about like what my life would have been like before YouTube and the generosity of the YouTube viewers. Oh my gosh. I just wonder what it is that my life would be like. It's weird, man. Like I it's hard to even understand or even fathom. Like the trajectory I was on was not a good path. It wasn't something that I was looking forward to, and I certainly didn't want to like try and raise my kids into that. And that was like, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just like I just came to like the final end of it. I'm like, okay, that's it, rock bottom. I don't know what else to do here. I got to quit drinking and I got to start paying off this debt. And those were the two things that just kind of got me moving, right? I mean, you quit drinking, you end up with a little bit more money than you had, right? Because you don't realize there's a lot of money that goes into alcohol. And then you take that extra money, right, all the money beyond the money you're making, and you start paying off the debt. Well, paying off that debt is like being an investor. And the moment that I paid off the debt, I'm thinking, man, that's it. I'm on my way, right? And it really felt like that. And I don't know, like I shared the entire experience here on YouTube. I think it's hatred of people's success. Yeah. I got to move my truck. Be back soon. All right, all nighter. Thank you for being here, man. I'm playing with this 3D printer I got. I'm trying to make sense of my own custom coins. I'll cast some of them in silver, some in bronze, and some in copper. Or smoking. Why would anyone smoke cigarettes? I don't know. I enjoyed smoking cigarettes when I smoked them. I don't like admitting that, but I really did. Like, I enjoyed smoking, And I'm glad I gave them up. I gave them up early in life, too. I gave them up when I was like in my late 20s, early 30s. And when I gave them up, like for real, gave them up, too. But I did. I enjoyed smoking. I liked hanging out at the bar, I liked smoking cigarettes, and I like the idea behind it all. But the idea of the money that was dumped into it and then the feeling that you get from it and the fact that it deteriorates you in every way, like you look at all the old people out there who smoke their entire life and they're all wrinkly and hacky and, they got all kinds of health problems and stuff. And I thought to myself, who needs it, right? And so I gave that up too. It's, I mean, What are you gonna do? I mean, you can keep you can keep making bad choices, or you can start recognizing your bad choices. Right? Not maybe other people that's not a bad choice. Maybe smoking is just like awesome for them. They're like, screw it, I'm 100 years old. I smoked my entire life. Screw you, kid. Right? So, if that's the case, so who am I to say it? But for me, like it was a pretty obvious choice that there is nothing of a benefit that comes from it. Costs money, costs health, costs makes you stink, everything. So keep up with the Joneses is a bad idea. I just yeah, like not even keep up with the Joneses. It's like see if the Joneses can do what I can do. Yeah, can you go out there and drive a 97 Suburban and feel okay about it? No, how much money you saved this year? Not a lot. Go a little deeper into debt. That sucks for you guys. Okay. All right. Like I want to see if the Joneses can keep up with me, to be honest. Right? And I was just like, can you like not have so much status. Yeah, yeah. So you know what that is, status, right? It's the fancy status that you need in order to impress other people. Do you have to have that? Can you live without it? No, no, that sucks. Braces are expensive, I know. All right. Make you feel like they're the only real way to relax. Oh, cigarettes? You guys talking about cigarettes? The thing about cigarettes is I loved them to the point just like that too. It's just like, man, I will reward myself with a cigarette just as soon as I tie my shoes. Like that's worth a cigarette. Yeah. Going out and starting the car, that's worth a cigarette. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, doing the dishes. Big time, man. Soon as I'm done doing these dishes, ha ha. Reward with the cigarette every time. All right. I loved it. I loved it. Billy Bob Thornton's doctor told him it's okay to smoke, better for his anxiety. Really? That's terrible. A doctor tells somebody, yeah, I got a head smoke. I'm not a lung doctor anyway. Keep the Joneses on their toes. I melted steel and iron for 25 years. I learned a few things along the way. Truck won't start, worth something. Alright. This is cool. Well, guys, are we going to keep going? If you want to keep going, go and hit the like button. We got 131 people with 81 likes. Get it up over 100 likes in the next 3-4 minutes here, and we'll continue on. Otherwise, we'll just call it quits for the day. Smoked for 17 years. So glad I quit. I could feel it destroying my breathing. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like, that's the unfortunateness of it is that it really does, deteriorate the lungs in a very definite way. And, one of the things that I remember is actually all nighter. And I went through the bodies exhibit in Vegas, and it was cool as hell. The slices of the people and their lungs and the spots, excuse me, that you could see, man, what like it was so much of it too. It wasn't just the ones that were definite, like, look, this is a smoker's lung. But then it was just other people that they just had randomly there, but you could tell, you could see it in there, like the cancerous spots in their lungs, and it was so many of them too. It was like almost all like so many, right? And so it really made you think. It was just like, man, what the hell is going on inside there for so many people that they don't even know it. They don't even know like how bad it really is. Yeah, I'm not digging it. Gotta regroup and figure it out. What to expect this tax season? Big refund checks or a bust? Simon, I recommended it earlier, but I really think you would enjoy reading. Oh, yeah, shop. Hold on here. Let me type that up and have it in this computer. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me for just a second. All right, Arthur. Schopenhauer, I don't know how to say it. Schopenhauer. Yeah, hold on, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute, damn.
Arthur Schopenhauer.
Schopenhauer.
Ar Arthur Schopenhauer.
Schopenhauer. Cool. Got it. Hey, right on. Wealth Building Journey. Thank you so much for joining or being a member of the channel for the last 2 months. Really appreciate that continuing on. How long have you had that Chevy or GMC? I don't know. How long has it been now, guys? About 9 months, I guess. Not quite a year. He didn't write a huge amount, and it's all good. Right on. And why won't your truck start? Oh, talking about all-nighter? All right. See if you can find a complete collection of his work. I will. I will check it out. Silica is the thing that messes lungs up. The clear box of instant quitters ditched their last pack of cigs. Yeah, that was funny because they do have a smoker's lung there, and then a clear box that essentially is a box that you can throw your remaining cigarettes that you brought in with you. Like you can pitch them right there. Like you see that lung, you're like, okay, that's it. I'm done right here, and you can throw that pack out. And that's funny because there was a bunch of smokes in there. It's like you almost want to sneak them out of there. It's like a lot of money. All right. Seems like she's starved of fuel. Maybe the fuel pump. How much did you get the truck for? Are you talking me here? So this was a pretty interesting deal. I guess you must not have heard the story. I got the truck for $3,000. It has 167,000 miles on it now. At the time, it had like I don't know 165. Yeah. I got the deal on the truck was a pretty good one because I used silver to actually secure the deal for a loan, which I know for a lot of people it would be like, dude, that doesn't sound very good deal. But I didn't want to sell the silver. I just used it as collateral. So I took the silver, secured a $3,000 loan, and said, here, I will give you 100 ounces of silver. You give me $3,000. I will buy the silver back at 10% interest. So essentially, I given them 10-ounce bars and for $300 a bar, and then bought them back for $330 a bar. Now, for a lot of people, they'll be like, hey, man, that sucks. That's way too much. You shouldn't have gone that high. But to me, on a private loan, that's a pretty good deal. Like, that's not bad at all. And then ultimately, I was buying that silver back at $33 an ounce, and silver had ran up to like 38, almost $40 an ounce by the time I was buying back the last bars. So I'm buying back my own silver at $5 under spot price because I had secured that deal. So for me, that worked out really well. I took 100 ounces of silver, used it as collateral, secured a $3,000 loan, and then bought the silver back at 10% interest. Everybody was super happy. And the coolest part about it is that everybody could have walked away from the deal at any given moment and been whole the entire time. The seller of the truck got his money. The person who I made the deal with had silver so that they were essentially made whole on their loan to begin with. They had the collateral. And I, whether I paid the truck off or not, I had the truck. So everybody had everybody was made whole from the very beginning. And buying that silver back under spot price, I thought was just awesome considering that I had secured the deal at a 10% interest, which didn't necessarily seem awesome at the time. It turned into an awesome deal. So that was just one of a few deals that I've done in silver on cars. Let's go check out these super chats. Thank you so much. We got the wealth building journey with the $5. Do you think the Fed will end up ironing out the yield curve by lowering the Fed funds rate by 50 to 75 basis points over the next 6 months? I think it would make things worse. Okay, so honestly, the wealth building journey, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate the support for the channel. I honestly feel that the Federal Reserve is attempting to get to neutral. Now, I know like a lot of people look at it differently and say, nah, they're being forced on all these other directions or whatever. And I think that makes a lot of sense in when you think about it in those logical descriptions of it, like they are trying to control the yield curve or trying to control, the interest rates out on the longer term or something of that nature. But I really honestly think that the Federal Reserve strategy is attempting to get Fed funds rate to that neutral position or to get the neutral position up to the Fed funds rate. Now, whether or not that requires another 50 basis point drop or them just sitting still and letting the credible threat of tariffs and inflation expectation raise that neutral interest rate, because if inflation comes back, essentially it could put the Fed funds rate at neutral. That's what I feel is their strategy. I mean, everything else I think is kind of like secondary to that. In everything that I've read from what I've gathered, that's what they're looking to do, is to have the Fed funds rate at neutral, whether they have to bring that down to meet it, or if the inflationary pressures or expectation can raise the neutral interest rate up to the current Fed position. That's their goal, and then everything else would be secondary after that. Rusty Dollar, thank you so much for the 1999. Walking away from I'm easy money is hard. Thanks for being an example. I had to make a difficult decision recently to do the same. Surprisingly, crystal gripping hippie stuff has become my favorite talks. Well, Rusty Dollar, I like the crystal gripping hippie talk stuff. It's good. Right? Thank you very much for the 1999. I really appreciate the support, man. All right. The loan on silver is exactly how the very rich work it. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, the money isn't the important part. That's where it got so. That's probably where, like, the one of the biggest, hardest understandings, the epiphany, the aha moments that I had was that the money wasn't the important part. And the entire time I had been focused in on the money being the important part of things. And it was just like, man, the moment that I let it go, it all started to make sense and start to come together. And that the money is literally just another energy like anything else. It's the transferring of goods and services that you have to look at money doing. And being able to use it to transfer goods and services, people then look at the things that they could get with money, right? Why do you want the money? Look at all the stuff that I can get, right? So now they put money in the way of the stuff that they can get. And this is a problem. This is 99.9% of the people's problem, is that they look at the stuff and they think, okay, in order to get it, they put this money right in front of them. They say they have to get this first before they can have that. And that is so wrong. That is such a wrong way of looking at it. And I have this, like, even today, I still do that. And then I have to recognize when I'm doing it, because I can recognize when it's happening. But if you have grown up your entire life in essentially a limited survivalist mindset, then you are going to do that. You are going to put money right in front of what it is that you want. When what you want is right there available for you, you do not have to put the money in front of it. But it's difficult. Like, because if you never had anything in your life and you never saw anything in your life and you never were able to acquire anything in your life, the one obstacle that prevents you from acquiring those things is money. And that's why you put your focus in on it. But the money isn't it. All right? The money is the thing that transfers, right? It's the currency. It provides goods and services for other goods and services. That's it. Right? So trying to acquire it to make it happen is absolutely incorrect. Can it? Yeah, absolutely. If you get enough of it, it can definitely do it. But you don't need it. And that's where it comes into the understanding that once you have put yourself there where you don't need that stuff in order to acquire the things that you need in your life, all of a sudden, boom, the whole world opens up to you. And that is what 99.9% of the people cannot get. They have literally been conditioned to not get it. The movies, the stories they've been told, the places that they, the families they grew up in, the schools that they went to, they literally conditioned them to have this mindset that very limited, that does not give them access to all the abundance that the world has, the universe has to offer. And so understanding that the money is like literally a very like small part, which doesn't, I know that's hard for a lot of people to realize, but it's really just a very small part of the bigger opportunities that are out there. I think about this like, and I've known other people that experienced something very similar. When I went down to Houston to go speak at the Rebel Capitalist, I flew first class, ate great food, stayed in a great hotel, got to meet wonderful people, had awesome experiences, and it didn't cost me anything. Right? In fact, if I had tried to earn the money to do it, it wouldn't have worked. I couldn't do it. If I had tried to say, man, I got to get this money first in order to experience all those things, it wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have ever got to do it. Right? So I wouldn't have got the experience had I limited myself by saying, hey, I got to get this money first. But I didn't have to do that. I got to experience all that wonderful stuff, and I didn't have money involved in any of it. Like none of it. I didn't have to do anything with money in order to get all that stuff. If I had tried to use money, it would have screwed it up and I wouldn't have gotten it. You see, like money would have screwed it up for me. Isn't that funny? Like if I had tried to, like, oh no, let me pay for this, it wouldn't have worked. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have had the money. It wouldn't have worked. So I didn't need it. In fact, it was better that I didn't have it, because then I had the opportunity to actually get there. That's what it was. That's the understanding that I finally had to come to grips with, because it was happening to me. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell is going on? What's going on in this world that is providing me with this sort of experience? And I'm not even really trying. It's just blowing up. It's just all these things are happening. What's going on? And I essentially had to reverse engineer what it was that was taking place. And what it was is the exact things that I have been trying to share on this channel the entire time. Is that once you have put yourself in the mindset that you are going to be helpful and useful, and you're dedicated to that, and you don't really have any expectations or belief system of what it is that it's going to do, like the money wasn't important. I never even thought about the money, like making money and doing money, all that, none of it. Right? That part wasn't ever even in my head. In fact, the more I think about the money, the less it comes. Right? The less I think about it, the easier it is. I don't put importance on it, it flows all over the place. If I put importance on it, it runs away. I see it every time. I mean, I have to recognize this every single day in my life, that this is what's occurring. And then how come it was so easy back then when I wasn't even thinking about it? And it was like, no importance. Energy was calm, didn't care about the money, just went out there and tried to spread helpful, useful information, and whew, here it comes. The more they do it, the more likely it's going to break. What happens 9 times won't make it happen 10, 11, and every time. Alrighty. Deplorable, you're triggering me. What's up with Deplorable, man? Deplorable's, he likes triggering. Somebody has to, Brody. Somebody has to. Has to? Like 2-0, not 2W. TW. Gotcha. All right, Deja, it is fun getting there. Bigger, better, more props. All right. Are we going to call it quits, guys? We got 95 likes, 111 people watching because you guys are always so awesome. And hanging out with the Uneducated Economist for hours on end, discussing economics and life philosophy and how it is that we can get through everything in a better way for ourselves, for our family, for our friends. And I really honestly believe that the theories that we have broken down here on this channel are by far the most helpful for the average working class individual, especially those working blue collar jobs, living paycheck to paycheck. There's really no better way of understanding what it is that you need to do for yourself than to understand the economic forces that are underlying, that are playing out. When we recognize them, we stop blaming. And by stop blaming, then you can recognize what it is that you need to do. It's like blaming the weather or something. Yeah, the weather sucks, but you know what? We can deal with it because, it's just the weather. And the economy is not too far from that. In that, yeah, we may not like it the way it is. It may be raining down, but, even sunny days can be a pain. Like, if the sun was blasting me through this window right now, I would be kind of annoyed by that and having a hard time trying to do the video. But, here it is, the middle of the night, and it's somewhat chill, and it's quiet, and it's peaceful, and we're having a great time here. So, it's all in the meaning that you give it. Dub Bears. Deplorable. Well, it was good to see you, Brody. All-nighter, deja vu. Have a good evening. You guys are awesome. All right. Sue the weather in court. All right. It means more coming from you, Simon. Keep on trucking, bro. Well, thank you very much, James. I appreciate it. Blame the system. The system doesn't care. Yeah, you can blame the system all you want, but the system really doesn't care if you blame it. What you have to do is recognize what it is that you are blaming and then recognize what it is that you need to do on account of that, because nobody's going to change. Right? It sucks. And even if they did change, they wouldn't change the way you want them to. So, whatever. The American Whale Night. Simon, you're doing better than one like per minute, 80 minutes in and 90 likes. That is true, man. See, now the meaning you're giving it, Wayne, that's great, man. Any preference for an initial asset to invest into? Also, are you thinking of coming to one rental at a time? 3 in Vegas over President's Day weekend. Yes, I was still planning on doing that, but I just committed myself to something else as well. So I'm going to figure out what it is I need to do about that. Ultimately, I'm trying. I would love to get back into doing some more theater and acting. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy being on stage, doing the shows, doing everything about it, the rehearsals, the everything, right? But it's so time committing. It's like you are dedicated to that because everybody else is relying on you. They're relying on you to be there for rehearsals, be there for performances, to be there and be serious and committed to the essentially that group, right? And the reward that at least I get from it is just overwhelming. It's some of the greatest feeling of accomplishment and of just, how do I put it, like, I think it's like I feel like I'm actually contributing to the betterment of somebody's experience in this world, to be able to take them away from their life and then entertain somebody for a couple of hours, to get them away from their stresses, from their problems, from everything that they got going on in their world, to take them away from that for just a minute, to have a time of laughing, a time of storytelling, a time of just enjoyment that is an energy that you're not going to get anywhere else. To be able to deliver something like that, I don't know how else to explain it, but that is one of the most rewarding things that I feel I had done. Like calling the bingo game for the group that is there every single weekend. Some of these people, they don't do anything else. Like they don't go out, they don't party, they just show up for that bingo game. That is their social hour. That is the only time they get out. And when I think about how it is that that little group has formed such a tight little community, we all laugh, we all know each other, we all, tell the inside jokes and, you know, and it's such a great time. And then like a stranger will come in, somebody off the streets to come in through that to that game, and it's just being done at a bar in the middle of a Sunday evening. And so anybody might stroll in, and all of a sudden there's this bingo game going on, and everybody's high energy, and they're laughing and they're joking, and it's really loud, and sexual innuendos are just being thrown everywhere, and it's just a great time. And the people think, man, what a show. And I think to myself, thank you, man. That's exactly what I would hope to hear. All right. Like Broadway, didn't know you were a theater guy. I'm not really a theater guy, but I would like to get into theater. Like I've done a little bit of theater. This is how it happened. When I was in high school, there was a teacher there, Susie Brown. Susie Brown is like college degree educated in theater and acting and all this other stuff. Now, I've known Susie for a long time, since I was a little kid in high school, right? I mean, even before like I was in high school, I knew her. So to know her now, like I was speaking with her earlier today, and she has a friend, Karen Bain, who is about the same level of theater degree, university teaching, stuff like that. Like these people are high level when it comes to the theater and, just that sort of community out there, right? So a few years ago, like prior to COVID, the channel had just taken off. It was really big. I'm out of debt. And I remember a buddy of mine, Ron, who I met actually through YouTube, through the channel. I remember he sent me an email and he says, hey man, now that you've gotten to this level in your life where you've paid all the debt off and all that other stuff, he says, be sure and do something for yourself, okay? I don't know what he means, but he's heard me talk before. I'm not into material possessions and doing all that other stuff, and I didn't quite understand what he meant by that. But I kid you not, it was like maybe 2 hours later, I'm sitting down at a coffee shop and I'm looking at this sign on the wall. It's a little flyer and it says acting classes $100. And I thought, I have $100. I'm going to take this acting class, right? And I saw where the theater was and I thought, oh, wait a minute. I know the guy who owns that or who's running that. His name's Derek, right? And I didn't know like that he had classes going on there. And so I asked him about it the next day when I was at work. He come into work. I work at a lumber yard and he does construction, right? So he comes in and I said, hey, Derek, that theater that you're doing down there. And he goes, oh, yeah, and he starts talking about it. And there's a whole group of them. He's just like, he's part of it. And I said, I saw there was some acting class. He says, oh, yeah, Karen, for sure. Give me your number, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I give him my number. Karen calls me up. She says, hey, we'd love for you to come down and be part of this class. And I'm like, all right. Like I've never met her before or any of this other stuff. I think they were just interested in getting people to go to that theater and take this class. So I thought, hell yeah, I'll go down there and take this class. Right? I mean, if nothing else, I'll use it to do better here on YouTube or something. So I went down to take the class with Karen, and I realized Karen is like, she's professional. She's like really good, like really, really good. And I'm thinking, holy crap, these classes are incredibly cheap. What's going on here? And I think really what it was is she's was trying to bring people into the theater to audition for plays because, same actors over and over again, but getting some new people in to get interested, train them up a little bit on acting and then hopefully get them to audition for some plays. And I believe that was her intent by putting on the class. Now, I took this class with Karen and I loved it. Just absolutely loved it. Karen and we just jived just really well. She's awesome at directing. She's awesome at teaching. The whole experience was just absolutely wonderful. And she tells me after that class, she says, dude, I would really like it if you auditioned for this play called The Weir. And I said, okay, I don't know, all right, I don't know nothing, about any of this. It's just this class, but I'll audition for The Weir, sure. So I go down, I do the audition for The Weir. You're supposed to do it in this Irish accent. I did terrible, could not pull this off at all. I stutter when I read. I was just like, it was a horrible, I just bombed it. I bombed the audition, right? That's what happened. And I thought, oh, well, whatever. There's like all these professional, like, there's like bunches of actors there, and they're all like really good, and then there's me. Yeah. And, but of course, I was just in this class with Karen, and she had me do a few lines, and she made me do it over again, and she asked me to come back for a second audition, and, made me do the lines a bunch more times. And she says, I'm going to give you the part. And she says, I think you can really do this, and, the lines that you did pull off well, I think we can work with that. And I was just like, all right. So here it is, this play, and it is intense, right? This is a very dark play. It's set in the middle of a very small Irish town, and it's on like a farm. And on the farm is like the local pub, right? So, like, this farmer, who's the character I play, his name's Brandon. Brandon owns the farm, he owns the bar. And four patrons come in and tell the most haunting stories, right? These like ghost stories. And they are so good, and they're all done in this deep Irish accent and with these like Irish tales kind of going with it. And they're just, it is so good. And one of the actresses, Nancy, who was actually there at the class tonight, she did the most incredible monologue. And while she was even doing it in rehearsals, she could cry. She could just make the tears come out of her eyes as she did the monologue. And it was so impressive. And I'm thinking, man, I am with the absolute professional people here. I mean, like, these people are like the best in town. And I'm working, and I get to work with them. Holy moly, how did I get here? Like, this is incredible. So as I'm doing this play with these guys, and they're all like really good, like, they're all super supportive of me because they know this is my very first production. Like, I've never done anything before, so I'm trying to do the lines with them, and I'm rehearsing, and I'm trying to learn it all, and it's just becoming such a, a I don't know, like, such a camaraderie thing that was happening within it. Something I never got to experience before. And the more I rehearsed this, the more I did it, and the more I was playing this character, the more I started falling into the character and actually feeling that character and being there, like being this Irish farmer. It was actually a young Irish farmer, right? This young Irish farmer working this bar who is essentially like, you know, in love with like one of like the new girl who just came in. He's falling in love with her and just trying to like hold all these emotions and play the part and do all the things with it. It was just incredible, right? All these rehearsals go down, we do one show, the show goes off beautifully, right? One, absolutely incredible. We do this beautiful performance, everybody pulls it off. The stories were haunting and chilling. Nancy does her beautiful, monologue. The tears fall. Everybody in the crowd, you can hear them crying as well as she's doing it. And then COVID hits, shuts the theater down. And that was the only show we did. That was it. So all the work, all the time, all the effort, all the rehearsals, we did the one show. And it was incredible. I loved it. All right. And so that was the experience that I got for theater, right? Taking that class, doing that audition, doing all those rehearsals, and then doing the one show, right? We at least got the one show done. So about a year ago, Karen says, hey, come down and audition. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to come down and audition. She says, there's a play that I think you might really enjoy being in. You should go and audition for it. And it was called Out at Sea. And so Out at Sea is a great play. There was 3 acts that they did. It was 3 half-hour shows. This was one of them, right? So there was 2 other plays that went on with this overall bigger show. So this act, one act called Out at Sea, it's about 3 guys stuck in a lifeboat, and they're going through an election debating process on who it is that they're going to kill and eat. So good. Dark comedy, full of like references to like say the different classes of society. Um, and it had to be like a lot of it was hidden. The messages were hidden within it. A lot of metaphors and stuff like that, because ultimately it was written in, like, I think it was written in Poland during like the Soviet era and stuff, and so there it would have been like unwise to push back politically, so they hid it inside of this play. And man, is it so telling. Like, you can see how it is. Like, one of the guys, they don't have names, they're just fat, medium, and thin is what they're referred to as. But fat is essentially like the higher elite, the one who is feeling like he's in charge, like he's the one who should be, can making the decisions for everybody out there. And essentially it's like how it is that people would then end up like debating and reacting to situations within life. Like, who are you? Are you the one in society who held everybody else down? Don't you think it's time that you pay society back? Kind of thing. Like, this is the type of conversations that they were having. It was so good. God, it was so good. Anyway, that was it. Those were my two shows. So I did all those, though. We did like, I don't know, a dozen shows or something like that, a dozen performances or more. So that was a lot of fun. We got to pull that one off, and I got a lot of compliments. So many people came and they're like, dude, I didn't know you did this. And I'm like, I really don't, but I really enjoy it. I enjoy the experience behind it. The people I was working with were absolute professionals that made that much easier and that much better. I think, man, if I wasn't working with these awesome people, if I was working with anybody who was doing it any less, I I don't know if I would be, how do I put it? I'm working with the best right off the bat. Nothing else will do. Like, this is awesome. So I don't know. We're gonna pursue it more and see what happens from it. All right. I worked a long time today. I just am sorry, guys. I will tear it up tomorrow. All right. We understand, deplorable. Wow, I am surprised. Is very tame tonight. Normally he is stirring things up. You guys wondering what's wrong with deplorable? What's wrong with deplorable? He's not sitting here just going off like he normally does. Poor guy. You all right? You guys are awesome. All right, are we done? Did you guys like the stories? Are we done with stories? Wayne, you were being modest then. Good job, man. Nice shot. I'm going to say, my kids are making me proud. I like to brag them up. I'm going to do an old bottle wall in there so the light comes in from the stairway window on the back side of the shower wall, clear blue green. All right. But you're still going to Vegas, right? Yeah, I got to figure that out all nighter. What are you guys doing? Are you guys staying in Airbnb, or are you guys hoteling it up? What are you guys doing? I haven't figured nothing out. No logistics of it. Ow. All right. Well. Look at who is here, Mr. Fisherman All-Nighter. I think he's been here most of the time, hasn't he? I'm going to Vegas. Anyone got advice for a younger cat? I've got a decent living going right now, but want to secure some other income streams. Anyone have recommendations? Some folks are doing hotels, some are getting some Airbnbs. Yeah, I got to figure that part out. And then I got to tell Miss Karen that I'm not going to be there on the day. Oh, jeez, guys, it's been sitting here a while. All right, are we good? Are we done? I think I'm gonna go inside, go get something to eat. Although it's just so much fun hanging out here, I think I could just sit out here like 24/7, really, just babble on about economics, study, read up on what I'm, studying and tell you guys what it is that I'm seeing here. Anyway, I'd rather see the play. I think that helps. Hey, Pedro, got my hands full. Let's see. I still need to find an Airbnb. Who's got one for rent in the middle of February? Yeah. Simon needs an AI copy, so he is here 24/7. Yeah. This is the best show on earth. Well, thank you, James. I really appreciate it, man. And I would really like to think that to be the case. And I would really like to think that the people who are here are really do enjoy the conversations that they're having with everybody else, enjoying the fact that we are learning and understanding these underlying economic forces for ourselves. And the idea behind it all is really just for betterment of ourselves or our family. And by doing this, I don't really know of any other way of like building it up as awesome as we have. The community here is just like second to none. It really is. And I mean, I know everybody's probably going to say that about their channel, but I really honestly feel that here on the Uneducated Economist, we have built up the community of all of the economic communities to be in. You know, like it's the best. And what's cool is that a bunch of you are, you know, I mean, it's always cross sections of it happening everywhere else, but really here, this is the best one. This is the best of them, all of them. All right. If he questions, he won't leave. If he has questions, he won't leave. All right. 5, 6 beds. Yeah, all night. If you figure something out, man, let me know. And yeah, I'll start working on it too. Nothing else. Simon, all-nighter hider. If you two want to go in on lodging, I'll call all-nighter hider tomorrow. Yeah, Wayne, why don't you do that? And we'll I'll figure out my side of things as well, because I'm like, I do too much stuff. I don't do too much stuff. What I do is don't organize the stuff that I do, right? I didn't like, yeah, I'll do that. And then like all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, I'm supposed to be where and what and doing. Okay, turn it on, let's do it, man. You know, little crap, you know. That's I don't know why I do that to myself, but I do. It's just like I'll be like, yeah, sure, that let's do it, and then next thing I know, I'm like, oh crap, man, this is like it's time, right? You realize when I went down to the Rebel Capitalist, I had no idea on what it was that I was going to say until 30 days before I went down there. Like here it is, I'm got invited to go speak in front of 800 people at this big huge event, and I have no clue on what it is that I'm going to say, and it's 30 days away. Oh man. I was telling one of the guys at work, and he was just like, dude, you babble on all the time. What are you worried about? And I'm like, man, yeah, I mean, nothing. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to say down there. And I said, I only got 30 days. And he goes, well, dude, you got 29 days to think about it. You know, and I was just like, oh, God. All right. I don't organize either. This is me getting out of my comfort zone. Yeah, right. I do plan on hitting up Red Rock Canyon while there. I want to see if I can still climb around. I love that place. Oh, that'd be cool. All right. Tick sales shut down next Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Mike Zuber and Kyber. So, yeah. All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hitting that like button. Thank you, everybody, for those super chats and supporting the Uneducated Economist. I know I thank you guys every time, but I really can never thank you guys enough for changing my life and giving me this experience. And I really am looking forward to what this journey has to offer and what it is that we're going towards here, because I really feel like this community is something else that is going to be a betterment for the people who have really taken this information in order to then look at their own existence and say, man, I can do this better. I can do this in a way that I know is going to give me the best outcome possible. And by looking at this information and going through the conversation with it and, you know, meeting the people here, we're making it happen. And thank you so much for all this. All right, doing everything at the same time is much more efficient. Yeah, if you can remember to do it all. All right, Wayne, what kind of climbing do? God, I don't see. This is the thing. You guys get to conversating, and so I don't want to like end your conversation. I just wanted to keep going there. So. All right, 20 birds with one stone. Why not? Right, totally. All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Uneducated Economist. You let me know.